Dan and Corey here, welcoming you into Libservative.
The great fundamental issue now before our people. We, the people, cannot turn back.
Yeah, welcome in to another rousing rendition of Libservative, intellectual idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. Corey looks confused already, which is just par for the course. That's where we need to be. I love it.
What are you talking about?
Nobel the Bodysnatcher tonight.
He's Dan Griffin.
Yeah, I was getting there. He's Corey Walsh. I was getting there.
I was just doing a bit. You were like, "Oh, he looks confused." So I was like, "All right, I'll be fucking confused then, I guess." No, I kept trying to click my unmute button because my microphone was muted, and that's why you saw my eyes do that.
Okay. It just means I'm paying attention. Nobel the Bodysnatcher tonight. He had an unexpected visit from his family because he the man's life is a Woody Allen film, and that's what you need to know. That's all you need to know about Bell the Bodysnatcher.
He's got things to do. That's more important than hanging out with us, I guess.
Snatching
You're
bodies.
not a Fast and the Furious fan. Families first. We're family.
I mean, before you tell the people where they can find us, I'll just do my things learned real quick. I don't think our astute producer, who is very good at what he does when he's here, knows how to tell people no. That's what I learned this week. He doesn't know how to tell people no.
You're about to block him like that other Facebook this.
Yep, he's out. He's out.
Let's start a podcast.
Bell the Bodysnatcher's been fired.
I don't think he's like, oh, this is the protocol for this. I think you have to have a sit-down meeting.
Yeah, we gotta get HR involved. It's the whole thing. He's not fired.
He is HR though, isn't he? HR. He's the producer. He's HR.
Yeah, he's just the old hand, jack of all trades.
He's the farmhand. Libservative Podcast is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is libservativeshow.com. We can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter at LibservativePod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today!
I think it's a very rude introduction.
Did you do it? Did you subscribe? Did you hit that subscribe button?
I didn't know she was black.
Wow,
right, that's the show.
That's a fantastic way to jump into the one and only topic that I think anybody cares about here on September 11th, 2024. Are we supposed to? But since it's September 11th, by the way, are we supposed to acknowledge it somehow? Is that something?
Always remember, never forget.
Is that etiquette? Is that protocol? We have to do that.
Yeah, a lot of people died that day.
Yeah, a lot of people sadly died that day, and it's
been ingrained in our brains.
And that sad, horrible day was then used as a ploy to start several wars. Honestly,
that part sucks because it kind of shits.
I was just going to say that honestly makes that day even worse than it really even needs to be, which is just that we should remember the people that died that day.
A lot more died in the wars that was predicated by that. It's not a good day. Here's the victims of 9/11.
Slanche.
We had a viewer and their dad probably or mom or someone they know might have died in that tragedy because they left right away. Good job, Dad. You insensitive prick.
Way too soon.
It's been it's been 23 years.
Yeah.
At least, right?
Some poor Brooklynite we just lost him. Just lost him.
Kamala. My God.
Jeez. I mean, she of all people shouldn't be laughing since she's clearly the neocon in this presidential race. Anyway, the debates, always remember, never forget, September 11th, kisses, hugs, whatever you're supposed to do. I'm gonna make this as awkward as possible.
Yeah. You sure are.
What did you learn this week, Corey? Before we get to the debate to end all debates.
Dan is pro Al Qaeda. That's what I learned this week. Just now.
Hey, I watched Charlie Wilson's War.
No. You know what I learned this week? That Gen Z does not know what fucking check fraud is, apparently. Did you hear about
Oh, they've
this?
never written a check. They don't know how to write a check.
Oh, wrong one. Not that one. Did you hear about this one, though?
No, but it doesn't surprise me because Gen Z probably doesn't know how to write a check. I guess for decent reasons. Who the fuck writes checks anymore? You know what I write checks for? Just before you get into this?
Your
I
mortgage
literally
bill,
write...
probably?
Not even. I write checks on my niece and nephew's birthday to my niece and nephew for their birthday. That's the only thing I write checks for.
Just out to
Ever.
cash.
Twice a year. Twice. I should say, I'm sorry, 3 times a year because I now have two nephews and a niece. Chase Bank says it is aware of viral glitch inviting people to commit check fraud. Oh my God. Why did Russia not think of this sooner?
Users are calling a money glitch or free money hack. It's actually having some serious consequences. Here's what it is. It involves people depositing fraudulent checks into their Chase Bank accounts and withdrawing the money before it's flagged. Well, that's actually fraud. For more on this and how it started online, let's bring in NBC News culture and trends reporter Callan Rosenbach. Callan, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Good to see you. So how did something that is actually fraud turn into this trend or something viral? When did this glitch start getting all these views?
Good morning, Savannah. So at the end of August, so just a few days ago, people began saying that they had found a quote-unquote loophole at Chase Banks where they were depositing checks basically in their own name, depositing it into their own account. And these were checks for, astronomical amounts, $30,000, $40,000. And they were saying that, Chase will basically front that money while they wait for the check to clear. And so people were withdrawing the money from these fraudulent checks, and they called it a money glitch. What they didn't realize is that they were going to have to pay that money back when the check inevitably bounced. And so it wasn't a money glitch. This is actually check fraud. And Chase actually released a statement saying, please don't do this. This is not a glitch. This is a fraud. And
it's a felony. Is what it is.
They're aware of the situation and they're trying to handle it to the best of their abilities.
What are the consequences for someone who does something like this?
Well, they're going to be, if they don't find themselves in legal trouble and find themselves, facing a case with Chase in the court of law, they're going to be on the hook for a lot of money. In some cases, which we haven't verified whether they're legitimate or not, but some cases people have claimed that they owe $10,000, $30,000, and they're going to owe all this money back to Chase. So there's one, the aspect of committing check fraud, which is going to be obviously a criminal offense. But then there's the other aspect of this, which is you're now going to owe all this money that you reportedly deposited into your account and that you don't have to cover.
Callan, I know in addition to this becoming this trend, this whole glitch thing kind of getting some views online, there's also a big pile on to set the record straight in this particular instance, right?
Yes.
So that's what I learned. I learned that the youngins don't know what checks are. Really.
Sucks. It sucks because a lot of people shit on Gen Z, and you and I being millennials, we remember what that felt like. Remember when we were younger and we were the generation that was going to be the fucking downfall? Like, I actually have a lot of faith in Gen Z in a lot of different ways.
I do too.
This does not perpetuate that thought for me.
Right. I have faith in them too, and here's why. Like, obviously, this was like, ask any millennial to use a rotary phone, right?
I mean, I could do it.
I mean, us older ones could, but there's probably a lot of us that couldn't. There's shit that was...
I've never had to use one, but I understand how it works.
Or like ashtrays in cars, like this is shit that was phased out when we were little. And we're getting, paper checks are getting used less and less probably every year. I'm assuming... I don't think that the number of checks being written is going up I'm sure it's going down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, well, maybe it's staying level.
everyone
'cause,
gets
like,
direct
a lot of people's
deposit.
grandmas are still alive.
Yeah, but everyone like, well, say we get direct deposit and shit like that. So like, I still think this is fucking stupid. Don't get me wrong. But I do have like a little bit of faith in this generation because this generation is seeing the game for what it is when it comes to our politics, when it comes to media, marketing, like all of the different aspects of everything, because they're growing up in a world where it's all being revealed when they're kids and not when they're old and stubborn and just calling it all fake.
Yeah,
They're
that's
growing
fair.
up.
And
They're growing up
there's
in the crumbling ivory towers, and they're seeing
ne-
like the lead piping exposed versus it being
the
all
negative. There's a
plastered
negative
over.
side to that. I think there's a negative side to that though too, because I think it's turning them into, if you look at
Goddamn
the amount.
communists.
No, not
No, I'm
well
just
that,
kidding.
but that's not where I was going with this. No, it's even on the right wing side of it. You have a lot of young Gen Z males that are, watching a lot of Andrew Tate, and watching a lot of. Andrew Tate's just the only example I can think of right here at the moment. But that type of content, and it's like. So you have like a generation that's older than us, or actually two generations that are older than us, the Gen Xers and the boomers, that are older than us, that are kind of stuck in the whole cable news world. And then you have the two generations that are younger than us, the Gen Zers and the Gen Alphas, that are hyper online. And it's like we as millennials are kind of stuck in the middle trying to fucking like tell everybody else to fucking cool it. We're kind of in the middle.
We're the bridge. Because
Yeah.
we grew up a majority of our lives with the internet shit, but we also remember when you had to go to the TV guide, channel 17, to see what was coming on, kind of shit.
Yeah, we're the last pre-tech generation, because we remember what it was like when the internet wasn't in everybody's house.
Mm-hmm.
We're the last generation that's ever going to remember that.
Yeah,
I was a kid.
Tablet.
Yeah,
My
he
kid has
doesn't
a
have any
TV you could
fucking
put in his
clue.
lap. Like that was unfathomable. I remember my little VTech fucking like fake laptop that had all monochrome sounds, and it was like 8-bit. It was just VTech, like that dumb shit.
Or like the phony computer that you just like the little kid's toy that you just played the games on. It was literally nothing.
Anthony V
Goddamn
agrees about
commies!
the Gen Z. Goddamn commies. Both generation groups never learned how to identify what's real and not a biased brainwash. Yeah, so I think the younger generation is kind of growing up with that. You know what I mean? Like some of them are still falling into the fold of the program, like the brainwashing and shit. But when we were younger, dude, we didn't have access for all of like the good and bad qualities of like how expansive the knowledge is on the internet, because it can lead you down some weird little fucking wacky ass like rabbit holes. But you can also learn that holy shit, our government isn't all that it's
we're a little bit lucky in that way, because most millennials my parents are actually like elder Gen Xers, like the oldest Gen Xers, but like most millennials, especially our age, that's just because my parents had me when they were kind of young. No teen pregnancies, nothing like that, but they were 20, right? When they got pregnant with me. And most millennials our age, we have boomer parents. You have boomer parents, Corey. My dad's
fucking boomer as shit. Served in Vietnam War. Grew up in the 50s.
Yeah. And then you
had to hide under the desks.
We have kids. Our generation has kids that are the youngest Gen Zers and also Gen Alpha. And so we got a little bit lucky because so many of us are kids of boomers, and with the boomers being such a large generation, hence the reason they're called baby boomers, we are also a pretty fucking large generation.
The millennials?
Yes, we're a massive generation because we have parents that are boomers. And so like hopefully that's the thing that saves the earth, because we're the ones that are sitting in the middle between the boomers that don't know how to use the internet and the Gen Z kids that all they do is they're hyper online. We are going to have to hold down the fort ultimately. And we remember when
I feel like one of our episodes was
planet. Remember when we were the generation that was going to destroy the planet?
Yeah, I'm glad
None
that
of us ate fucking Tide
So-
Pods.
That's so fucking stupid. I don't think anyone was. I think that was young kids trolling people.
I agree.
But like what a lift. What a weight lifted off my shoulders knowing that I don't have to be the one that's destroying the planet anymore. What am I gonna do with all my free time, Dan?
I don't know, but yeah, no, that was a good things learned that fucking Gen Z doesn't know what check fraud is. Wow,
They're figuring it out real quick. Because all the ones who fucked up, here's the thing, like a bunch of them that fucked up posted videos going, well, I got a lawyer up.
yeah.
They did a follow-up
well,
video on their blunder.
Doesn't that just speak to what it is, though? It's just like Gen Z being like, and I don't believe this, but doesn't it kind of speak to that narrative that Gen Z is like the entitled generation where they can just be like, oh, well, yeah, I just committed a felony, but whatever, I'll just get a lawyer. No big deal. Oh, we'll get this fixed. No problem. It's just
Well, yeah,
like,
there's
if
a-
that happened to me, I would be shitting my pants every single
They're
day.
just so numb. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like maybe the generation is pretty apathetic. They get really emotional
I
about really
guess.
trivial things, but when it comes to like serious issues, like they're
Which,
just
dude,
apathetic.
honestly, that kind of makes sense because Gen Z is the generation that's the children of Gen Xers, and Gen Xers are maybe the most apathetic generation that ever, they're called the forgotten generation for a reason.
Yeah,
because,
yeah,
there's
Fight Club was made
whatever.
about Gen Xers.
We just don't give a fuck, and maybe that's what Gen Z is going to be too, which is okay. That means we're going to be the old annoying people.
We already
That's
are.
gonna
Listen to
happen.
this. We have a podcast where we just bitch grievances like Trump did last night.
Well, first of all, you just said we had a podcast, so we can't be that old.
Jordan Peterson has a podcast.
Well, yeah, but that's only because somebody told him to do it. It wasn't any boomer that has a podcast.
I just
it
talking
wasn't
to this
their
microphone.
idea.
It's not immediately clear to me.
It's not immediately clear to me that this podcast is going to be successful, but you have to put in the work. You have to make it successful.
I do dress more outlandish than he does, though, huh?
No, you don't.
What if all these flowers were just like saints? Would that be better?
Well, first you.
Anyways,
tell
let's
me
get on to this.
What do you mean by saint? It's not immediately clear to me what this word means.
Him on Kill Tony was actually pretty funny, though.
I like Jordan Peterson. I have no issue with him, but he is easy
You
to
know,
make fun of.
that's the point, right? You don't have to agree with everything anyone says. You don't have to agree with everything everyone says.
He
And you
cries
can
a little
still
too
like
much.
them. Oh,
He
you
does
know,
cry
like,
a little too much.
that's the kind of the thing, right? That's what's kind of shitty about it. Like he was the one that a lot of young guys were looking up to with his book, like the 12 steps to be what I forget what it was called exactly, but all these kids are looking up to him.
In the room.
And then a bunch of people made fun of him online, and then he cried, and so then they all drifted over to Andrew Tate.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Now, yeah, and Andrew Tate is a legitimate problem.
He has no power. He's not a problem. He's just another noisy voice. Like I'm not one of those people like, oh, we need to fucking cancel him.
Oh, I didn't say
He's just
that.
another
You
loud
should-
asshole on the internet, like all the other ones.
I would never say that. Andrew Tate should be allowed to exercise his free speech just as anyone else. He's just a fucking moron. Anyway,
Yeah, I mean, I could disagree with him. He's allowed to go out and say his shit, and he's making a hell of a lot more money doing it
that's
than we are.
true. He is top G. You're right. I'm just jealous. He's top G.
You got a better hairline than him,
This is true.
so you got that at least.
This is true.
And you can eat pork.
He does. He has more abs than I do, though.
But you can eat pork. That's because you eat pork.
It's the bacon. Maybe Andrew Tate's onto something.
Don't you go start eating that turkey bacon shit. That shit's not
Jesus
real.
Christ.
An animal has to have stomach muscles to make bacon. Turkey bacon isn't real. Sorry.
I agree. Turkey bacon isn't real.
You want to talk about this debate?
Anyway. Yep. However you feel, Kamala Harris had a good debate. That's just the way I'm going to start it out because I already know how the Trump people feel about this. The simple explanation is that your boy got his ass beat, and he legitimately got his ass beat. Now I know what the cope is. I heard a lot of the cope this morning from Trump supporters. I honestly had hoped that he was going to have a better performance, but he did
too.
not.
She lobbed him softballs.
Yeah, the cope is that it was all the moderators. The moderators were biased against him, and guess what? That's true. The moderators were absolutely biased against him, but he should have been fucking prepared for that.
Yeah,
and
that's
he
been happening for
absolutely was not.
That's been happening for 8 years. We've seen all the outsiders from the establishment. All the outsiders always get trounced. They get the smear campaigns. Look what happened to RFK. Look what happened to Tulsi. Look what happened to Bernie. That's 3 Democrats that I named that aren't Democrat. Well, Bernie's still a Democrat, and he definitely fell into the establishment fold as he got older.
No, don't call me a Democrat. I am an independent, and I support Medicare for all.
Both Tulsi and RFK are fucking Kennedy. This is as blue-blooded Democrat as you can get. And then Tulsi, who used to be the head of the DNC, the chairwoman, both got ran out. You know what I mean? Like, you've seen it. And Trump was the biggest proponent of this, but he was not the biggest proponent, but he was like the biggest like victim of this. He should have been ready for that. He should have come in there with his P's and Q's.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason we titled this episode "Debate Fallout: The Monster versus the Machine." I think you can guess who the machine is. It's the Democratic machine that I don't think Donald Trump being one man at this point, who has honestly put horrible people in place because and I understand why he did it, because he just doesn't give a fuck. He wasn't going to do what he did last time, where he basically put a lot of that same said machine in place in both his campaign, but also during his presidency. And this time around, he was just kind of doing whatever the hell he wanted. But so like this time around, it's essentially Donald Trump against the Democratic machine. And the machine crushed him in this debate.
I would even say the Republican machine. The Cheneys came out and endorsed Kamala, and she acted
the establishment machine.
She acted like that was a fucking good thing. The George Bush presidency was one of the worst fucking presidencies in our generation, if not ever. Like in our country, led us into big deficits, led us into like terrible budgets. You know, the fiscal financial crisis, like World War or the World Trade Centers, 9/11, fucking
never forget
unconstitutional wars, 20-year wars. Yeah, he wasn't good. Cheney sucked.
That's how you know that everything is so topsy-turvy.
Because that's how you know the Democrats and Republicans are 2 wings of the same fucking bird.
Absolutely.
And Trump's on the outside looking in.
When you're discussing the establishment. And that's like the one thing that I kind of like about Trump, as much as I fucking hate him, and I think he's a terrible president and a terrible person. The one thing I like about him is the kind of anti-establishment angle that he at least tries to portray. The problem is he always ends up coming back around to like, no, I'm more of the defender of Israel. You know, I'm the defender of, I was the one that brought the vaccines out. Like he cannot stick to the
script
anti-establishment angle that he wants to portray, because at the end of the day, he just isn't as anti-establishment as his supporters want to believe he is. Is he the closest thing to anti-establishment that we have? Sure.
Michael Bolton. The guy who admitted
Michael Bolton, the singer?
I say that every single goddamn time.
You mean John Bolton?
John Bolton, yes. That guy. Him too.
Him
and Michael Bolton were in the Situation Room.
Careless whisper.
Yeah, he was just trying to elevate the mood, right? No, but John Bolton, yeah, like the guy who was on TV admitted to doing fucking coup d'etats. Our government destabilizing other countries, especially down in South America, is not a good thing, as evidenced by the border today.
It's honestly interesting because I think when you talk about foreign policy, I think the foreign policy portion was one. If Trump had a strong portion of this debate, it was the foreign policy part, and in particular, when what was it? David Muir asked if he wanted Ukraine to win this war. I think Trump had the perfect answer.
Oh, he had a wonderful answer to that.
I just want the war to end. That is
I want people to stop dying.
Yes,
how he
that was
talks.
that.
I want people to
that
stop
is-
dying.
That is a populist's answer. That is the correct answer. And when he was pushed again by David Muir, but do you want Ukraine to win this war? Trump didn't budge on it and kept saying, I just want this war to end. That's the right answer. There isn't a better answer than that answer. If you are an actual, bleeding heart, anti-war libertarian like you and I are, that is the good answer. Unfortunately, that was kind of Trump's only real good part during the debate. So I thought this debate was going to be the debate.
There was no live audience there either, was there?
I don't fucking remember, dude.
I
We
don't
were
think
too
there
drunk
was.
while we were watching it to even remember.
Yeah, it's
we were
fucking drinking games.
We were playing our own little drinking game.
Drink every time they talk.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be the banning and subsidies debate. It didn't really turn out to be that. Honestly, I thought that was going to be like as deep as they went with policy. Instead, there just was not an ounce of policy during this debate.
I don't know where Kamala stands after this.
I have no idea. I don't know anything more about her than I knew
because all of a sudden
she's
she's pro fracking, pro secure borders, having the most lethal military, and Trump called her out for this. If you remember, he goes, "Oh yeah, you're taking all my policies. I thought about sending her a mega hat." Like that was fucking funny.
So that's what's so interesting is like you had both candidates speaking out of both sides of their mouth the entire debate. Because to your point, when he goes, I was going to send you a MAGA hat, and then he fucking calls her a Marxist. It's like, okay, well, which is it? Is she supporting? Is she taking policies from you, or is she a Marxist? And a time where Kamala did that during this debate, where she goes, I can't believe that you would have a terrorist at Camp David and negotiate with the Taliban.
But then
she goes, I will absolutely be open to negotiating with Hamas. It's like, first of all, Trump and this is one of those softballs, and I'll let you go here, Corey. This is one of those softballs that she threw Trump all night, and he swung and missed every single fucking time he had an opportunity to knock one out of the park. When she talked about him inviting a member of the Taliban to Camp David to negotiate, it's like, yeah, because we're fighting a war against the Taliban. It makes complete sense for the president of the United States to speak to the leader of that group. But what did he do? He can't stay away from the grievances.
And he should have
got to go back to the grievances.
He also should have brought up how in the last 6 months or 9 months of his presidency, not one American soldier was killed in Afghanistan after negotiating with a terrorist.
But it honestly speaks to what I think is the number one point of this night and why Kamala is, as much as I didn't really want this or expect it, why she dominated this debate so thoroughly.
And I think I know where you're going to go, but what I'm going to say is I knew
Go ahead.
I knew that in the very beginning, I knew that Trump was probably going to be cooked when she came in as Prosecutor Harris. And she came in, and it was like we've all seen Law and Order. I don't know, I know how many people here that are listening or watching have done jury duty. But when the judge is doing his opening, or when the prosecutor is doing their opening statements, and they're talking to a jury, and she looked at the camera and goes, "What you are going to hear tonight from my competitor is lies, this, and this." It sounded like I was in a fucking courtroom, and that's when I was like, oof, here we go. Because what was interesting before this debate is the polls are a deadlock. They're all within the margin of error, so we don't really fucking know what is or who is going to win until the poll day.
Is it, you pronounce this colluder? You a colluder? Are you a Russian colluder? The problem is that neither one of them really said anything. There was no substance to any of it. Trump lost because he got mad and he came off as defensive. That's 100% correct. That's exactly what it is. So Kamala comes into this debate with it. This is a great strategy. Was it her strategy? Probably not. It was the machine.
No.
It was the machine strategy.
She was getting prepared by one. They had a fake Trump guy there.
All she did was kept laying the bait, and Trump snatched it up every time. She would lay the bait. He would snatch it every time. Lay the bait.
She would answer her question, prod him with
She
something
was
as simple as, "Oh, people leave his rallies early." He answers the
Mhm.
whole fucking question talking about how his rallies are better than hers. No one gives a fuck about that.
and she or the apparatus that prepared her for this debate, they knew that. They know that he is a narcissistic man. However you feel about him, he's a narcissistic man, and he just can't let anything go. Like if he could, like he is so awful in these debates at just picking his battles. If he would just let one or two things go here and there and actually speak to policy and work within the parameters of what makes sense, he would do so much better. But this is what makes him such a terrible debater. That's why she came in so confident, and rightfully so. She knew exactly what she had to do. Lay the bait. He's going to take it. We've seen him. How many times have we seen him debate now?
No, we saw him.
He debated Hillary 3 times. He debated Biden twice in 2020, right? I believe, or was it 3 times? So we've seen this man debate on the presidential level like 7 or 8 times now. So they know exactly what his weaknesses are. She absolutely played to them. And it was honestly, it was perfect. She nailed it. She fucking nailed it.
She dissected them like watching Michigan play a subpar team in college football last summer, exposing the weaknesses, and then sitting there and just prodding at it, and then just completely dismantling them to the point where even when she another example of a softball one that he could have really just knocked it out of the park with is when she said, "Now there are no American soldiers in active duty war zones," or something like that. Remember she said something like that?
Right.
But we have advisors literally in
actually
Ukraine.
True.
Right. Yeah, we have
Which
advisors.
Actually true.
Well, and we had active duty soldiers getting hurt because Iran was sending missiles, or Hezbollah was sending missiles at our military bases in Iraq just a couple months ago.
Why do you have soldiers in areas of Jordan that you say that soldiers aren't at? Like, this is like, if you really look into that, it's like, that's one of those things where, so that kind of brings up the fact checking thing, right? Because there's been a lot of complaints on the Trump side that that the moderators were fact checking Trump all night, but not Harris. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is the fact that yes, they were biased against Trump. We knew that going in. That,
and he knew that too. He should have prepared.
But the other reason for that is that the way Trump tells his lies or his hyperbole is it's so brazen and out there that it's easy to kind of fact check in real time, as to where somebody like Kamala, and you could say this actually makes her more of a snake, and I would probably agree with you if you said that. The way that she lies and the way that career politicians lie is they kind of lie on the margins of policy, to where if you're really paying attention like you and I do, at least I think, you can sense those lies, but they're very difficult to fact check in short order in real time. And again, the apparatus that sent her into that debate, they knew that. Like, you can definitely lie, but you have to pick your spots. You have to pick your spots about where you lie, as to where Trump just throws like, they're eating cats. They're eating cats in Springfield. Like, dude, like, that's real simple to like look and see that that's mostly untrue.
Bright Eyes in the house.
Bright Eyes in the house.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what pisses me off about conservatives the fucking most. They'll take something that has any shred of evidence to it and run with it to the point where now they're saying they're eating pets, which is completely uncorroborated. But at the same time, there is a video, like there is a recording of a phone call to Springfield, Ohio's police department on a non-emergency line. This guy saying he saw 4 Haitians speaking Haitian Creoles, scooping up geese out of the fuck pond and throwing them in the back of their truck. And then if you go on Scribd, you can find the actual police report. I don't know if it was corroborated, if they came and found out what's going on and all that stuff, but someone thinks they saw that. It is something that is being looked into. But that is very, very, very different than people saying that their cats are getting snatched up.
And that's the other thing too. Like, from my understanding is that there are a legitimate amount of Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio. Like, that's actually a thing.
Yeah, no, their population is damn near doubled.
Why can't you just stick to that point?
Right.
Why can't Trump just stick to that point?
Town, resources are being fucking destroyed because they have additional infrastructure for half the population.
Because Trump always, when he's backed into a corner, this is what he does. We've seen this man for 8 years now. We know exactly what he does now. It's not hard to see. When he's backed into a corner, he always reverts to the most sycophantic, hyper online fringe portion of his base. And that's maybe the biggest mistake that he makes. So instead of just like actually discussing what's going on in Springfield, Ohio, where, as you said, Corey, there are local resources that are being taken away from the people of Springfield, Ohio by Haitian migrants, he has to go, they're eating cats. They're running around eating cats. Like, do you not, like, that is just so fucking asinine.
That's not how you're
the
going to win
point where you
undecided
would go.
voters.
No, that's not
how you're
because
going to win
nobody
undecided
knows.
voters.
And by the way, Viktor Orban is his fucking cash cow. Like, your grandmother who lives in the suburbs of Springfield, Ohio, who's 90 years old, has no fucking idea who the Prime Minister of Great Britain is, let alone the President of Hungary, Viktor Orban. Like he's got to get off the internet. If Trump would just get off the internet for just a minute and understand his base a little bit better.
The internet. Some millennials got to step in and help them out with that, right? But yeah, so Body Cleaning Service said that we don't know that going in. I would argue 60% of voters have no idea who they're voting for. And yeah, I would say there's a lot of them that are undecided. And so here's where my biggest outtake or my biggest takeaway from this. I don't think it's that high. But I think that like the margins are fucking close. We're talking probably a couple thousand in each state, right? It's going to be very, very slim like it was in 16 and 20.
It's going to be tight. It's going to be a tight race for sure.
Kamala definitely held her shit together better on that stage than Trump did. But did she bring the pizzazz, the excitement for people to come out in droves and volunteer for her and paint murals on walls for her or anything like that, let alone just interrupt their daily routine and vote for her? Did she do that with this debate? And is all that Trump did during this debate is remind undecided voters just exactly why they're undecided?
Yeah. I think that so I don't think that she galvanized anybody to have more support for her.
No, because she didn't talk about any policy. People don't really know what she is for. If you're talking about someone who thinks they want clean energy versus Trump's oil, or someone who thinks they should be more lenient and help them immigrants versus Trump talking about deporting them, or someone who's anti-war versus who they think Trump is this warmonger, she literally hit all those points in the exact wrong spots where that person would have wanted.
Well, right. And that was going to be my next point, the second half of that, which is that I don't think she galvanized necessarily any more support for her. But what she did do was expose Trump a little bit more for all of his weaknesses. And we know, and honestly, Corey, in 2024, that is such a smart political strategy because we are in a place now where we are so, at least on the margins. I don't think in like real life, like when you're walking down the street, I don't think people are divided, but on the margins, people are so divided where most people are casting votes for the lesser of two evils. They're casting votes for against a candidate, not for a candidate.
Yeah.
And she played to that strategy to a fucking T last night. She nailed it. I did not expect her to do that well. I really didn't.
So now from her, I'm expecting a huge media blitz and then a real get to know Kamala type movement. Is she going to do that, or is she going to go back into the shadows?
She's going to do more bullshit interviews like she did with Dana Bash. Like we
You
know,
think so?
like you and
She ain't going to hop. You're right. She
know
ain't going to hop in no podcast for an hour.
No, and she's not going to talk to Sean Hannity. She's not going to talk to anybody that disagrees with her. She'll talk to Dana Bash. She'll have a fucking finger blasting session with Rachel Maddow or something, but she's not gonna. I made myself laugh on that one. But yeah, she's not gonna do anything legitimate. And honestly, dude,
yeah, she would go on Rachel Maddow's podcast probably.
And the sad part is, man, the shit works. Like you and I see through it. I think a lot of our viewers and listeners see right through it. We have disagreements with our listeners as far as like who's good and who's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't,
But we're
I
all in
don't
the same
support.
group here. Like ultimately, we're not happy with the system that we have right now. So we like to major on the majors and minor on the minors. If we disagree on a little bit of a monetary policy, it's not a big fucking deal. We can get along. We can go, okay, yeah, no, we might not agree on how this money should be spent or how much power the government should actually have, but hey, I don't like the ones in charge, right? And they're like, yeah, you're right. And it's like, all right, well, we're starting off somewhere.
We can move on if you want to. Like, I have other notes. I have other
there was
notes on
something
this,
else.
but I think we
Oh.
basically covered the basics here.
Kamala says she has a gun.
Oh, that's surprising.
She's a gun owner.
That is a little bit surprising. Oh, and she
And
also
the illusion.
she also dove into what is it? The anti-China thing with COVID.
Yeah, she alluded to lab leak theory.
Lab leak theory. That's the phrase I was looking for that I couldn't find in my head.
Yeah.
She rolled right into that, didn't she? A little bit.
Yeah, she did.
Trump. So okay, so I think the one other thing that I have, and it just kind of speaks to another reason why Kamala won this debate. I mean, hands down. I think even most rational Trump supporters would admit that that's the case. They might make excuses, and some of them legitimate, some of them not. But she played into the fact that not only he's such a narcissist that he has to respond to any critique about him instead of just letting things go and picking his battles. He does not know how to deal with dead air. He has got to fill that dead air with something. He can't articulate a thought and then just let it marinate for a second.
He was just filibustering.
He has to fill the dead air.
He's a
and that's why he is such a bad debater. He's fucking terrible. He's a terrible debater. He's good at a lot of things. He's a funny guy. When he does his rallies and he says the things that he says, gets people riled up. He's a comedian. He's funny. I get it. There's things that Trump does well as a character. Debating is just not one of them. I mean, he's honestly, other than the last debate against Biden, you could argue he's lost every presidential debate he's had. You could make that argument. Some people like to say he won 1 out of the 3 against Hillary, and you could make that argument too. But the argument could be made that he has lost every single presidential debate he's been in, other than the first one this year with Joe Biden.
Yeah, he definitely won that one.
Kamala sat there and did what Trump did to Biden, which is let him sit there and bury himself.
Trump's like, I have the concepts of a plan.
Oh, yeah. Like, that was how they started the whole debate. And that's when we knew it was going to be a shit show. She goes, he doesn't have a plan. And then his first response is, I have a plan. She's the one that doesn't have a plan.
Yeah, it's like, so nobody has a plan.
Okay, so nobody has a plan. This is going to be a great 90 minutes. Let's get after it, kids.
Nobody has a plan. I'm glad that out of 350 million Americans, these two are the ones that we got it narrowed down to.
This is a great comment from Colluder. He is strongest when he's personally attacking people in an amusing way, like the old Jeb Bush stuff. That's absolutely right. I couldn't agree with that more.
That's comedy.
I couldn't agree with that more. I couldn't agree with that more. And like, honestly, I don't hate it. Like, that's actually when low energy Jeb. Yeah. And he didn't break any of that out yesterday, which was bizarre. Wasn't that bizarre that he just spent the whole night on the back foot and he just could not figure out how to get, like, Kamala Harris was Sugar Ray Leonard last night, man. Mm-hmm. She was dancing around the outside of the ring, jab, 1-2, jab, 1-2. And then the judges at the end were like, that's 10-9 rounds for Kamala Harris, the Sugar Ray Leonard of debates last night. That's what she did. It was honestly, dude, it was sneaky, and I don't like her, and I can't fucking stand the establishment.
Yeah, like,
God damn it, did they put a great debate together last night.
She didn't make me want to vote for her, but
I won't be voting for her either, or him, but either way.
I don't know. I might just leave the space blank. I like still sticking to something to the third party, but none of the third party options are even worth like giving a vote.
Honestly, I haven't seen it yet. But do you remember how in the first debate, RFK did like a simultaneous debate with Biden and Trump? I guess Chase Oliver did one of those last night. So I'd be interested to go back and see what Chase had to say. I'm even as a libertarian, I'm not a big fan of Chase Oliver, but I would actually be interested to see what he has to say. So I might go check that out. Maybe
Just 'cause I
we'll
don't
talk
know
about it a
nothing
little
about
bit
it,
next
yeah.
week.
Yeah, maybe I'll sneak a peek as well. But yeah, no, I like doing the third party thing or just writing my own name in because then whoever's candidate loses of the two major parties, they always
Just gets
blame
mad at
me.
you.
Yeah,
they get
they
mad
blame
at
me.
you.
2020, my Republican friends blame me. 2016, my Democratic friends blame me. At this
Yeah,
point,
I
it's
mean,
just
I have
It's
this
like
thing
in
where
2018 when I picked up smoking as a New Year's resolution just to piss everyone off because I quit smoking the year before and I figured I could do it again. And so I picked up smoking for a year and then I quit again. And then the fucking vapes came out. And that sweet, sweet nicotine still has a hold on me.
yeah, so do I. I'm chewing the gum. I got the nicotine gum.
But everyone was so pissed. Everyone was so mad because all of my other friends were trying to quit smoking. And I'm just lighting them up. Because I gotta work on this
Dude,
resolution.
honestly, a cigarette just sounds so disgusting to me right now.
It does.
Like
It does, yeah.
I could not even imagine picking up a cigarette, right? Honestly, I'd probably love it, but like it doesn't sound good.
Your mouth. No, I had one at least about a year ago. I was like wasted with some friends. It
I
was,
did
like,
that
probably
too.
at a
I
wedding or
ran out of
something.
gum on the golf course one time, and I was with a buddy who smoked, and this was probably two years ago. So I've probably had one cigarette in the last 6 years now.
And
Man,
it
it's
still
been that
tasted
long?
great.
Holy shit.
It still tasted phenomenal. It was
Well,
wonderful.
when
But
I don't care when you're drinking, like smoking is fantastic.
right, but then
I don't care.
after, it's a nasty taste in your mouth. Your fingers have that gross smell.
Oh, I'm on Colluder's same thing. I don't know if this is a male or female. I'm not going to assume your gender. I've been on the last step of nicotine gum for 3 years now. So have I. I'm right there with you.
I'm working
right
on it.
there
I
with
have
you.
the gum, and I'm still hitting my fucking vape. I usually
I
chew
just
gum during
can't.
the show, so I don't sit here.
I just can't give up the gum. I gotta have it. It's just whatever. I don't care if I chew the gum the rest of my life. I'll be fine. I don't care.
Your dentist will be upset.
I don't see a dentist. Is that a weird thing to say?
You don't believe in big dent?
I don't believe in big dental.
Brush my teeth. Who the fuck? What kind of propaganda is this? I trust the 5th dentist out of the 4, out of the 5.
Haven't brushed my teeth in 7 years. That's a joke, people. That's a fucking joke.
What's the Mitch Hedberg joke? He's like, I got so much tartar, I use it on my fish. And then he's like, fuck, that joke is disgusting.
What else did we learn from this debate before we move on? They basically are both the same on Israel. We're not going to get any resolution there.
Same on the
anytime
border.
soon.
Both the same.
Same on the border.
Yeah,
same
like
in
she
Ukraine.
attacked him for the tariffs that her administration still has in place. Which was kind of funny.
Healthcare was a fun one. Healthcare was a fun one because it was another softball that Kamala just lobbed up to Trump that he could have ran with or it knocked out of the yard, and he didn't. All Trump could say was that Obamacare was bad, and it is. And it's really simple to explain why it's bad, and he just can't fucking do it. And then Kamala goes, Kamala goes, we kept insulin prices low. And a really easy retort to that, another softball when it comes to healthcare is, yeah, you put a price cap on insulin and now there's an insulin shortage. I can't imagine why there would be an insulin shortage when you put a price cap on insulin because it's not profitable anymore. So now what do we see?
Is there a shortage on
Ozempic all over the fucking TV because Ozempic
for
is
type
profitable,
1.
insulin is not.
Yeah, Ozempic is type 1. It's for type 1 diabetes. It can't be. It can only be used for one of the two. I know that.
Understood. Well, it's also a weight loss drug, but still, you wonder why.
Well, type 1 is
companies...
typically from obesity. So
right. That's what. That's why it's also which is the most. It's the most common. I mean, type 2 is a lot less common than type 1. But you understand my point. Yeah. Like, why is nobody making insulin anymore? Like, so, why didn't Trump bring up the shortage of insulin? That was a really fucking easy. It was a softball.
Because it is a softball, obviously, right? Like, because
he doesn't
people
know
just
anything.
Not making it anymore, or Was there a serious demand for insulin because so many people have diabetes and they just weren't taking care of it because they couldn't afford it? And that now they're like actually all buying it because it's affordable. Like either way,
I mean, it's
demand is
an
outpacing
interesting
supply,
question.
right?
It's an
You know what I
interesting
mean?
question.
Like,
I don't know the answer to that question.
was like, like it's like everything is supply and demand, right? Like, was the
I mean,
supply
at the end of the day,
always
we
built
know that
like
we
at a
know that price
structure where
caps
not
don't
everyone
work.
could afford it? Oh no, they don't work. No, they don't work. But was the supply? It's like for another example. This is like just how fucked up the whole healthcare industry is. I don't know how to solve it, but it ain't working now. When COVID happened and they're like, oh my God, the OR rooms, the ER rooms are 90 to 95% at capacity. But everyone,
ICUs, which by the
or
way, they
ICUs,
always are. They
right. I
always
was
are.
just going to say they typically run them at 80% capacity. Like they have number crunchers that do the math because they got to make their place profitable. A bunch of empty ICU rooms aren't making them money. So they have just enough to get by, and they usually have them at about
Well,
80%.
it's also the fact that if you talk to these number crunchers at hospitals, the ICU is not a very profitable portion of the hospital. So they don't have that many rooms to begin with in the ICU. And yeah, they're generally running at about 80 to 85% capacity. And that's the thing that nobody ever looked into. Like,
Right.
what are these?
So
It's a really simple thing. Like, what do these ICU rooms normally run at? Is this crazy that it's at 90%? That this 5%
right,
increase is crazy? I don't think so.
right. And then the price cap that doesn't work is like bullshit, and it leads to exactly what you're talking about. But you know how you solve that problem, Dan? Let Americans buy fucking pharmaceuticals from other countries.
Yeah, well, Mark Cuban's trying. As much as I disagree with Mark Cuban, he's like a
Yeah, he's got
dyed-in-the-wool
that.
Democrat.
Yeah, he's
What
got
is it?
that
Cost
cheap.
plus drugs.
Yeah,
Cost plus
but
drugs.
even that we don't need that because let people buy pharmaceuticals from other countries, especially like here in Michigan, 40 minutes away. I could go get the drugs that I would need if I needed them for a fraction of the price. Like, oh wow, yeah, it's on 35
Yeah,
bucks here.
but dude, then you'd be buying drugs from commies, and you don't need that.
Well, what it
You don't
would
wanna
do was
participate in
it would
that.
make the American companies have to compete.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, listen, we all know what the problem is here. I mean, I feel like our listeners get bored when we start talking about basic fucking economics, but it's
Right. It's
important.
30 like right, so that 35 price cap, it's 35 bucks for insulin in Canada. We didn't need to make a price cap. All we need to do is open up that market so people could order it from there, and then the companies here go, "Oh fuck. We're losing revenue because everyone's going to a cheaper competitor." And we can't buy them.
Or the other option would be to remove government regulations so that the simple drugs are just easier to make and you just have more competition.
Right.
That's the other
Exactly.
answer.
And then we're talking about regulations. We're not talking about you or I making bathtub
Insulin in
insulin.
our bathtub. Bathtub
Right.
insulin.
You just bathtub insulin. Like we're not advocating that type of fucking crazy ass free market. There would obviously be still safety
But
standards.
even honestly, dude,
checks,
even what
but
Mark
don't
Cuban is
gatekeep
doing
it.
is good.
Yeah.
Even what Mark Cuban is doing is good. He's cutting out the middleman because that's
Mhm.
what that's a big honestly, I recommend everybody check it out. Why We Can't Have Nice Things. Excellent podcast. The newest episode was on this. Was on the price of drugs. And what you're going to find out is like
Finish
we
this
like
episode at least first.
well, sure, please. As soon as you're done with this, you can go
Oh
check
yeah,
out
and subscribe. How did I say that yet?
you did say that. Go check out why we can't have
shit.
nice things. And even I was guilty of this, and probably you too, Corey, because we've talked about it on this show. Like we blame the pharmaceutical companies a lot for the price of drugs, and in some cases it's warranted. In fact, a lot of cases
Yeah,
it's
like
warranted.
that one
But
guy who bought the AIDS drug.
a lot of times a lot of the time it actually turns out to be the middleman that negotiates with the pharmacy that ends up driving up the price to a ridiculously high
insurance
price.
companies.
which is why Mark Cuban. It's not just the insurance companies. It's
just the middlemen in general. I'm just saying, like I said, like
in general
the insurance companies.
Right, but the insurance companies are one of those. But like what Mark Cuban is doing is like he's cutting all that out, and I'm assuming Cost Plus Drugs is still turning a decent profit, even by selling a drug that you would buy normally from a pharmacy at whatever it is, $110 a pill. He's selling it for $10 a pill, and I'm sure he's still turning a decent profit because he's turning out these drugs at a much cheaper rate. So it's what I would say is this: we like to blame the pharmaceutical companies a lot. It's not always their fault. Which I didn't think I would ever say that. I didn't think I would ever hear like a decent defense of drug companies, but that's why we live and we learn.
We live and we learn. My opinions change as the facts change. Pray tell, what do you do, kind sir?
They change as you learn things. Well, what do we always talk about, Corey? The fact that the way it's the what's the Jonathan Haidt book? The unconscious mind or whatever it is.
The coddling of the American mind?
No, not the coddling of the American mind. It's the other one. But it's essentially all about the righteous mind. It's all about how we come to our beliefs with a lightning bolt flash, and then we work backwards and rationalize it from there, as opposed to doing it the other way around. Finding our way to our beliefs. We're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. You're guilty of it. Every single one of our listeners is guilty of it.
It's nature. Water finds the least path of resistance.
The path of least resistance.
Yes, that too.
Did you want to jump into what was the other thing we were going to talk about tonight? The actual Russiagate, the real Russiagate.
For real, it's for real this time, guys. We swear.
It's for real this time.
It's for real this time. Russia is spending all this money to make 8,000 people watch a video. They're infiltrating our election system, and everything's compromised. It's real this time. Swear. Listen, bro, please.
It actually is kind of real this time.
It is real, yeah. No, it's real. I'm not saying it's not real.
Nobody tell Tim Tool. That's all I'm going to call him from now on.
Like,
Tim
these
Tool.
Russians spent all this money, and me and you both are pretty active in politics, and neither of us saw these videos.
What did Matt Welch call? Did he call him Tim Drool? There's a lot of words you could call him.
Tim Tool.
Tim Tool, Tim Drool. So the DOJ indictments over RT funneling information to a right-wing media in order to push pro-Russian narratives. Tenet Media. So here's the thing, right?
Russia Today, like they're not even hiding it.
Yeah. So what's so interesting about this is like I completely understand the skepticism about whether or not this is real because we had the actual phony Russiagate, and this is why pushing these stupid narratives that are false is such a problem because now you're the boy who cried wolf. When it actually does happen, where you have Russia Today funneling money to Tenet Media to feed information to people like Tim Pool and Benny Johnson and Dave Rubin, or as Corey likes to call him, the sad gay Dave Rubin.
Yeah, because he's gay, and all the conservatives he talks to are like, yeah, we don't agree with you. And he's like, but I'm one of you guys.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, no, on like 90% of the issues, but this one,
You have Dave Rubin, the sad gay. You have Benny Johnson, the serial plagiarist. And then you have Tim Pool, who maybe I'm just jealous, but I still just don't understand why this man has a following. Why do people, if we have Tim Pool listeners in our audience, please tell us what it is about him that you like, because it's not even that I necessarily disagree with all of his takes. Some of them are actually okay. He's just so unbelievably unentertaining. There's nothing unentertaining about that man.
Right. The only one who has a more less personality would be Lex Friedman, but Lex Friedman is really fucking smart and has things to say.
Yeah, there's a different kind of brilliance to Lex Friedman as to where Tim Tool, I can't even call him by his real name anymore.
Tim Fool.
I can't even call him by his real name anymore. He's just so unbelievably just like, I can't even explain it. He's just mad. He's mad all the time. It just doesn't seem to have any conceivable sense of humor. And he's being essentially actually fed information from Russians to be broadcast on his dumb show.
And their $10 million infiltration operation, infiltrate election, God, I think garnered like 8,000 views.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that should have absolutely been the red flag. Like, why is he getting? I don't even remember what the number was. I don't have it in front of me, but like
$400,000 an episode.
$400,000 an episode for a show that's. I mean, it's pretty popular. I understand that it's not an unpopular show, but not worth $400,000 an episode. I mean, God, what the fuck was Charlie Sheen being paid per episode on 2.5 Men? It was like $1 million. Something like that. Of course, that was, 15 years ago or whatever it was. But still, like, TV. The money just didn't add up. It just didn't add up. And now I believe Tim and I believe Benny and I believe Dave when they say they didn't know. I actually do believe them because it was all funneled through Tenet Media. However, you got to own it. Like, you got to own the fact that you were spewing pro-Russian talking points. And I don't have an issue. Like I've said many times on the show, I don't care whose talking points are correct. Or I don't care if it's a talking point by somebody that I'm not supposed to like, if it's real, if it's correct. I don't care if Putin says something. I don't care if it's a Putin talking point. If what Putin said is real, whatever. I don't really care. This went a little bit beyond that, didn't it?
Yeah. I don't even know the context of the videos. I'll be straight up honest with you. I didn't see any of them. I didn't know anything about these pro-Russia videos until the media came out screaming Russiagate 2.0. So I don't even know. Like that's what makes it. That's why I think it's so funny. Is like the propaganda was like so. It was a literal non-factor, and I feel like in a lot, except for like 8,000 Americans, and based on how algorithms work, it was probably shit they already believed anyways. It was probably funneled to them that
well, this is
that Russia didn't need to pay for it. Like, I don't know.
This is the issue that I have, and I'm going to give credit to Hannah Cox from Base Politics for pointing this out, because she kind of nailed it. It's this idea, like, this is the problem with like the right-wing grifter types. That's not to say that there aren't left-wing grifter types. Of course there are. But the issue with the right-wing grifter types, which is the Tim Pool, which is the Benny Johnson, which is the Dave Rubin, which is the Daily Wire, which is the Blaze at this point.
Blaze has always been that way.
The issue is that they want so badly to sit at the cool kids table. Like they're the rejects, right? They're the ones that are appealing to the incels. They want so badly to sit at the cool kids table that they'll just kind of take what they can get. It doesn't really, they're not going to ask that. The whole point is like, they're not going to ask questions. Like if they receive information from a place like Tenet Media that they work for, they're not going to ask, where did it come from?
If it matches their preconceived biases.
Right.
If it hits all their check marks, then, oh yeah, this is good stuff.
Which is funny because that's the thing that they shit on mainstream media, the quote unquote leftist mainstream media, for doing all the time. Yeah. They're doing the same goddamn thing.
Is it like they're just two wings of the same bird, Dan?
It's amazing, isn't it? It's absolutely amazing.
It's amazing that all of my Democratic friends think Trump is devil, and all of my Republican friends think that Kamala Harris is the devil.
When in reality, they're both the devil. And I want the entire system to burn to the fucking ground. They're both the devil for different reasons. But yeah, I think we had to bring that up. Do you have anything else that you wanted to say about actual Russiagate, real Russiagate?
Wait, the first one or the second one? Because the first one was also fake. The Steele dossier.
Yeah, well, that was actually fake. I'm talking about this one.
Oh, this one's actually real. I guess. That's all I got.
That's all you have. Well,
it was real, and it was equivalent to North Korea sending balloons of shit into South Korea.
Honestly, like, it's fucking hilarious.
Really fucking do shit.
It's absolutely hilarious. And
here's the thing: is like we have our Secret Service, not our Secret Service, but like our intelligence agencies and the Democrats especially, all clutching their pearls, right? Like, oh my God, this. When we literally have the Voice of America, which is an American propagandist news outlet, being broadcast all over the world.
They insult
And how do I
us
know
in
it's a
an attempt
propaganda
to
outlet?
gaslight us,
Because
and
of the
we will not
NDAA.
stand for it.
Because in 2012, under the 2012 vote of the NDA, which is the National Defense Authorization Act, Obama allowed American propaganda that we project to other countries to be allowed to be projected back on Americans. Which before that, it was a no-no from like a law in either 1948 or 1968 that propaganda can't be put on from the government. Like it was an act that he like basically undid.
Yeah.
And
I don't know enough about
like
that
we
one
literally
offhand to speak to it, but yeah.
like we have our fingers in the pot in so many goddamn countries constantly.
Well,
And we're not
isn't
just
that
doing
the point?
election interference. Like, well, we do a lot of election interference, and we actually institute coups. Like we do all that shit, and then Russia goes and gets 8,000 Americans to watch some bullshit video, and we're like, oh, how can we let this happen? For God's sake, somebody think of the children.
Somebody think of the children.
Hasn't anyone thought of the children?
Isn't that kind of the point though? Like,
right?
Yeah,
because
Russia,
again,
here's
now
the thing,
everyone's
Corey.
talking about this, and no one's talking about policies that the presidential electors should be discussing.
Yeah, it's
Nice flash in the pan. That's why Democrats love Trump.
like this idea that Russia would want to try to fuck with our elections. Why should that be a surprise to anybody? The Chinese, anybody that we have any sort of animosity with, why would it be so crazy that they would want to fuck with our elections?
Right.
Like why is this so shocking? Why is it so much of a pearl clutching thing that like
even that, right? Like, all right, pull out the tinfoil hats. Why are all these other countries completely blocking any sort of American social media platform from coming into their country? Is it because they think that their citizens are going to just interact with Americans and see a different taste of life? Or do they think that the American government is going to try to send propaganda?
Well, in Brazil,
probably
it's
a mix
just
of both.
X. In Brazil, it's just X.
Brazil just blocked X. That's supposed to be a Western democracy. The UK is rounding people up just for having dissenting opinions on social media.
Wait, hold on. Brazil or Venezuela?
Nope, Brazil.
Brazil. Okay. All right. Because I knew Venezuela did, but that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
You're right. It was Brazil. But yeah, it's like Elon Musk, for all of his faults, for all the reasons that there are legitimate reasons not to like that guy.
Yeah, the guy shouldn't have bought Twitter, and he shouldn't be on Twitter.
He's just like, oh my God, this man's going around the world perpetuating free speech. What an asshole.
He has so much fuck you money that he's like, that's fine. Block X. I'm still going to allow it on Skynet or whatever his fucking internet is. And he goes, and guess what? It's going to be flying over your country. And it's not a damn thing you not Skynet. What is it called?
It's called Skynet.
It's called
Link.
Skylink.
Skylink. I don't know. One of our listeners. I know it, but it's
Skylink.
just I'm too drunk. Starlink.
Starlink. Yeah, that's what I meant.
I'm too drunk to have thought of it right offhand.
It's that goddamn Russian propaganda. It's
a guy who has
propaganda, Dan, making me say words wrong.
I know. Anyway,
Calendar actually came in. It was like, yeah, it's Starlink.
Other than the fact that Kamala Harris is supported by the neocons, which I think we talked about that a little bit. Oh, I have one. We don't even have to talk about this, but I just have to mention it. I'm pretty sure the singularity of horseshoe theory took place this week because Matt Walsh, our favorite TradCon was on the Jimmy Dore show, our favorite leftist maniac. Horseshoe theory is coming, boys. It's coming.
When worlds collide. Yeah, that was I need to listen to that one tomorrow. I haven't listened to it yet. It's so
Oh
funny.
my
It's like
God.
it's right. Like when you go right enough, you go left, and when you go left enough, you go right. Like if you go left enough, you get your guns back.
Go right.
Karl
Yep.
Marx himself in his book wrote for the workers. What did he say? I forget what the first part is, but it's something about for the workers to hold their power, the workers must be armed. Like he talks about he's like fucking stay strapped or get clapped.
I don't want any more of your commie propaganda, Corey Walsh. Not on this show.
Owning guns is commie propaganda. Now, well, Kamala said it. Communist Kamala.
Did you expect to find out that Kamala owns a gun? Was it Michael Moynihan on Honestly Today that was like, where the fuck did, or no, I think it was Batya Ungar Sargon was like, where did they go to shoot? Where did her and her husband go to shoot?
Oh, even better. Just untrained gun owners. I love it. Thank God. We need more of those.
I cannot imagine how piss poor Kamala Harris's trigger control is. She's...
Do you think it's worse or better than the rooftop shooter?
Well, he was close.
He was pretty
Am I not supposed to say that?
That would have been, dude. That would have been bad. That would have been bad. Really, 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 really,
talked
really bad.
about it. It was the only solo episode I did was after that shooting. I recommend everybody go check it out.
I didn't listen to it.
Just kidding. I did. Yeah, I know you didn't. It was terrible. I didn't do a good job. 45 minutes of me just
active listener to this show. I'm the one that comes around and listens to it and makes sure we didn't say anything fucking stupid.
Well, that's just mental
masturbation. And then every single episode, I'm like, oh yeah, no, we said something fucking stupid.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Kuladar said, what do you think would have actually happened if he died? So there's a two-pronged thing. Among the people...
An interesting question.
So this is what I think would have happened. Because I thought about it. First off, whether it was Democrats in charge, but there would have been a unanimous, straight up fucking government overreach in the constant battle of freedom versus security, that a bunch of us would have had more of our rights stripped away in the name of safety and security by our government, meaning that now they're going to be going through everyone's phones, through combing over basically everyone's things, completely circumventing the Fourth Amendment in the name of security. I think that's what the government would have done. I think,
yeah, the whole never let a good tragedy go to waste concept.
I think online would be where all the unrest is. I don't think there would have been anything in the streets because the person was killed. There would probably be a lot of marches, a lot of memorials, and then there would probably be some jackasses showing up to protest a memorial or something like that. And Antifa tards. And
let's also think about this, Corey, just to add to what you just said. There would be the conspiracy theories would be abound, and maybe they would be accurate. You know what I mean? Like I'm not using conspiracy theory as like a pejorative in this situation. Legitimate conspiracy theories about who was responsible, because we already have that, even though he survived. Who was responsible? How much did the state know? Who was involved? Why didn't the Secret Service do this? Why didn't the Secret Service do that? What we saw with the fact that he survived would have been 20-fold more pushed out there.
There probably would have been some scuffles in streets and stuff like that with jackasses trying to protest a memorial or something like that, right? There's always the crazies on either side. And
horseshoe theory.
It wouldn't have been, but it would not have been good for the American people. Even if you don't like Trump, it would have been bad for the country. It would have caused more division for sure. Because you would get people on the right, like the Trump sycophants, blaming basically anyone who didn't like Trump, saying that they propagated this crazy hatred towards him, forcing people to act out like this. And
the violent rhetoric.
Yeah, on that day, Trump wasn't the only one that dodged a bullet.
Yeah, we all did.
Yeah, it would not have been good.
It doesn't matter.
I don't like Trump, not voting for him. would not have been good for our country.
Super glad he didn't
all.
die. Anyway, what do we have? Do we have anything else?
Honestly, this one hasn't really hit big news yet, and I don't want to be the one just to try to rush through this because this is a whole.
Do you have breaking news?
It's not really breaking news. It hasn't bubbled up to the surface yet because of the debates today and stuff like that. But there's probably another impending government shutdown over the SAVE Act.
God. Why should we be surprised?
Right, over the SAVE Act. And do you remember me talking about the SAVE Act a few episodes back? Yeah. What is it? The Secure American Voting. Oh fuck! I can't think of like the.
What is the E
the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, and it's a legislative proposal aimed to ensuring that only U.S. citizens can vote, where they have to have proof of citizenship. And the state's responsibilities would be to prohibit from accepting and processing voter registration applications with this proof.
Jesus Christ, we already have that.
Right. This is just to shore it all up.
We already have it.
But so this is what they want to push through.
Whatever. Fine. I support it. I just don't.
I know, like I support it too. Like I think that's why I said there's a lot to this bill that I'd like to actually comb over and stuff. I think we could save this one for tomorrow. It might be more relevant, or next week. I mean,
yeah, I guess.
So tune in next week where we talk about the SAVE Act.
Tell the people where they can find us, Corey.
Libservative Podcast is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is libservativeshow.com. We can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter at LibservativePod. And our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today.
It's just bullshit.
Go ahead, subscribe. Listen to the show. Give us a review if you like it. Follow us on Facebook. We actually engage on there, I think, a pretty decent amount. Like we're posting pretty consistently, and then we talk with everyone and get more nitty-gritty about bullshit and policies and stuff like that. And new episodes every week.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
On Twitch. Subscribe to our podcast and all of your favorite podcast platforms, and you can listen to
Donald Trump is a bad guy. He's a bad person.
If you like it, share it with a friend. God damn it, Trump.
We have to stay woke.
This is why we need to mute your mic.
Anyway, maybe we'll have Bell the Bodysnatcher next week. I don't really know. He, as always, has been Corey Walsh.
And he's Dan Griffin. And
yourself.
Okay. This has been Libservative. And until next week, we are out of here.